I manage 1,400 acres at Penicuik Estate, which is all in-hand farmed ground. Very much a mixed farm. We have beef cattle, we have sheep, and we have cereals, oilseed rapes in the rotation. The soils on the whole are quite easy working. We do have some peat and we have a little bit of clay and a little ground over rock, but it's mainly quite light ground, running to maybe about 10 inches of topsoil. Quite a high rainfall. We're sitting on about 750 mil a year just in the foothills of the Pentlands. Altitude wise, the home farm's at 800 feet and we go up from there, so the bulk of the cropping ground will sit between 800 and 1,000 feet, which is a limiting factor with a lot of what we do. Timeliness is key, I think, to getting it working. When I arrived at Penicuik Estate, they just started to take some farms back in hand themselves. There was a lot of short-term grazing lets. As we've built the farm and built the stock numbers ourselves, we've slowly done away with these. There's still some local graziers that we'll use back and forth more as possibly a mop-up operation and a fertility building operation on the fodder crops and the cover crops that we grow. Present, we have about 300 to 350 acres of combinable crops. We also grow anywhere between 100 and 150 acres of fodder rape, kale and turnips. We try and add cover crops in the system, some of it through the environmental leak scheme, others just off our own back that we can use as fertility builders to hold the nutrients, which will then either mulch them or we'll graze them off depending on the season and the needs of the soil and what we plan to follow it with, timeliness and things. I'm standing here just now in a field of Eeks cover crop. In the mix, it's a very varied mix. We've got black oats, we've got phacelia, we've got some various clovers on the stand. We've also got chicory and a little bit of vetch. So this was sown at the start of May in the government Eeks scheme. So it's an overwintered stubble followed by green manure. And the intention for this will be to roll it down in front of our Claydon seed drill and just sow wheat directly into the crop. We've done this for the last 2 years. It's worked extremely well as a fertility builder. It can look a bit unconventional when you see it happening, but it's a great, absolutely fantastic for soil biology. The worms get hold of the residue and it just disappears over the course of the coming months in the winter. Before we had the Claydon, this would have been topped, it would have been ploughed down, possibly rolled, and then we had a conventional piggyback system with the power harrow and drill, and then rolled again. Last year we had a front 3-metre roller on the tractor that was doing the seeding, and we just went straight in with the seed drill. The ground was never rolled. Fuel usage, I reckon, was about 1/5 of what we'd normally use, and I think the soil and the crop benefited hugely. We chose a Claydon drill. The Claydon is very much a tried and tested system. It's got a leading tine to burst the soil a bit, loosen any compaction, and then it has a very simple A-share at the back, and then it has a seeding boot at the back that puts the seed behind the A-share, and then it's covered. We've had no massive issues with it at all, and a crop like this, what we tend to do is take out the leading tine and you can fit in a front cutting disc, so it would help to cut through the residue. Because this was drilled with the Claydon drill, it's had the compaction loosened anyway, so we would have had, in this field for example, we would have had the front tine working between 5 and 6 inches, so it would burst any compaction that's there, enough to let the roots get down, and then they'll go deeper. Especially, I think the real benefits of a cover crop, if you can do it over the summertime when it's dry, the difference in the rooting depth for the deeper rooting plants like the chicory, the roots will be down to 14-15 inches, so any thought of subsoil and there's no need at all, and it makes it a very open, friable seed bed to put the wheat into, that you basically just have to make a slot with a tine or a disc and get the seed under the ground and it will grow. The system that we use for spring barley, we tend to follow rapes and kales. Some of them will be in the Eeks scheme, so we have a system where after the 1st of March they'll be mulched and they'll be put in with the Claydon, and then we have conventional Swedes that we'll graze off with sheep, with ewes over the winter, and then we'll have conventional kale that we graze with lambs. So the spring barley tends to follow a cover crop, but possibly not what people would term as a cover crop. The autumn sown crops, we try to get the wheat to follow a cover crop or to follow oilseed rape. The winter barley usually goes into wheat stubble. I think there's a lot of advantages of using a direct drill system, whether it's a Claydon drill or another make. I think the first for us is timeliness. Instead of it being a two-man job or a two-day system to go out and plough and cultivate and drill a field, because we're a mixed farm, especially in the spring where we're lambing and calving, there's myself and one other worker in 1,400 acres, so we can both deal with the stock in the morning, and then I can jump in the tractor in the afternoon, and it can be self-contained. I can put a ton of seed in the drill, I can go off for the afternoon and the evening and sow 30 acres, and it leaves David at home to keep an eye on the calving cows or any ewes that are left to lamb. Fuel savings, on the whole, as the soil is getting easier to work, I'd say my fuel usage would be about a fifth of what it would be if I had a plough and piggyback system. The fuel savings are massive. Timeliness, I think when your weather window is quite small, it just means if you need to go out and do a bigger day, you can. A 3-metre Claydon, if you can start early enough in the morning, continue late into the night, it's quite possible to do 50 acres in a decent day if you've got the ground in front of you. As I say, I can have a lunchtime start and manage to do 30 acres and still be back at night to check cows and calve cows. So I think timeliness, fuel savings, and then the obvious benefits to soil are there to be seen.